What if I told you a 26-year-old university dropout hacked a multi-million-dollar betting farm from a 2-bedroom apartment in Kenya and nobody noticed for 9 whole days? What if I told you the entire heist was executed without a single line of code hitting the betting site itself? No balaclava, no getaway car, just a laptop, a router, and a mind sharp enough to slip past the digital firewalls that were supposed to be unbreakable. 11.4 million shillings gone, evaporated, one man versus an entire financial ecosystem. This is not just a story about theft, it's a story about systems, about blind trust, about how our most secure platforms, our banks, our betting farms can be infiltrated not by foes but by understanding them better than their own engineers. This is a true story of a gifted Kenyan hacker who exploited the cracks in the billion-shilling industry without ever touching the front door. Some call him criminal, others a genius. But one thing is clear, it is deeper than you think. Before the heist, before the headlines, before the millions vanished, there was a small boy, just a computer, Seth Mwabe Okwanyo. Born around 1999, he wasn't raised in wealth. He grew up in Kisii County. But what he lacked in resources, he made up for with obsession. He enrolled at Meru University in 2016, pursuing a degree in information technology. But by his second year, he was gone, dropped out, not due to failure but frustration. He left academia but never left learning. Online forums, YouTube, dark web sandboxes. This became the new classroom. But by 2017, Seth wasn't just a dropout. He was calling himself a cybersecurity engineer. He built a reputation in underground circles. He won a 50,000 shilling cybersecurity challenge hosted by a major Kenyan bank in 2019. He blogged about hijacking printers through default passwords. He founded a cybersecurity training group back in campus. At just 20 years, Seth was already talking like a paradox, a defender who understood the mind of an attacker, a student who dropped out yet lectured companies about vulnerabilities. But there was a problem. For all his knowledge, the Kenyan tech industry didn't seem to know what to do with him. No job offers, no bug bounty payouts, no headline contracts. And that is when something shifted, because when you are self-taught genius in a world that doesn't reward ethics, what's left to test your skills except the system itself? July 16th, 2025, the time just after 2 a.m., a betting firm's payment processor was quietly bleeding. 11.4 million Kenya shillings siphoned out in just 38 transfers. Each one neat, silent, precise. Not a single security alert triggered. The company didn't even notice until it was gone. It wasn't a brute force attack. It wasn't phishing. It wasn't some Hollywood-style password hack. No, this was smarter, cleaner. This was surgical. You see, Seth didn't touch the betting platform directly. That would have been messy. No, he went deeper. Instead of hacking the betting company, he hacked the pipeline. The quiet intermediary between the bet and the bank. A payment service provider called Afrisend Money Transfer Limited. Think of it like robbing a casino by hijacking the armed truck that carries the winnings. Seth allegedly discovered a flaw in the way Afrisend's system interacted with PesaLink, Kenya's real-time interbank transfer system. Using admin-level access, or what tech gurus called a carefully crafted API exploit, it triggered a series of transfers from an account at Diamond Trust Bank. And because the breach bypassed Afrisend's internal monitoring dashboard, no alarms went off. But here's where it gets even more shameless. Investigators believe Seth planted a Telegram bot disguised as a routine security tool and tricked an insider at the PSP into running it. That's the payment service provider that handles back-end money transfer for betting sites. What they thought was a safety test was actually a black door. He didn't break in, he was let in. And once the door was open, it took him mere minutes to empty the vault. And then, nothing. No getaway car, no alarms, no missing servers, just another quiet day in Nairobi. A cybercrime had occurred, and no one even knew it yet. By the end of the week, Seth was back in his Tatu City apartment, allegedly counting cash with a machine, and the betting company still hadn't noticed. 9 days after the heist, the silence broke. Afrisend Money Transfer Limited, the payment processor at the heart of the breach, sent a letter to the Directorate of Criminal Investigation. It was the beginning of a cyber manhunt, and the digital trail, it all led back to one apartment. For weeks, Kenya's Banking Fraud Investigations Unit traced every detail. Led by Abraham Mugambi, the DCI's top financial sleuth, a small cybercrime task force followed a spiderweb of PesaLink transactions and Telegram bot activity, all pointing to a quiet, rented apartment on the edge of Nairobi. The name linked to the devices? Seth Mwabe. Saturday afternoon, a 2-bedroom apartment. Detectives arrive. They knock, no answer. He refused to open the door. Here's what was found inside: 4 high-performance laptops, 2 custom servers, advanced routers and modems, multiple mobile phones, a Starlink satellite internet kit, a heavy safe, and a money counting machine. The apartment wasn't a home, it was a cyber war room, a fully equipped digital operations lab in the middle of an upscale Nairobi suburb. It wasn't just a heist, it was infrastructure, methodical, industrial. But when confronted, Seth didn't deny his role. He told investigators he wasn't stealing, he was just testing software. The 11.4 million shillings, a byproduct. He claimed an accident. A young man standing in a million-shilling cyber lab, saying it was all just a misunderstood experiment.
This is what I do.
But the DCI wasn't buying it. The evidence was overwhelming. The heist was now a headline. And for the first time, the nation was watching. September 1st, 2025, Nairobi's Milimani Law Courts. 2 days after his arrest, Seth Mwabe stood before the judge, accused of masterminding one of the boldest cyber heists in Kenyan history. The charges were severe: unauthorized access to computer systems, fraud, theft, violations of Kenya's Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act. If convicted of all the counts, Seth faced up to 20 years in prison. Chief Inspector Julius Cheriot, the investigative officer, asked the court to deny bail. He claimed they needed 20 more days to trace the money, analyze Telegram bots, even request data from Starlink servers overseas. Cheriot even called him a flight risk. He warned that the web of heist extended far beyond what was visible. But Seth's lawyers fired back. They argued he was no criminal, just a misunderstood tech guru. "I did not steal, I was only testing software I'd developed. The money unexpectedly appeared in my account." In a moment that shocked even the courtroom, Seth said, "You can take my money, just let me get back to my life." After 2 days of deliberation, Magistrate Ekubi delivered his verdict. Seth Mwabe was granted bail, 100,000 Kenya shillings bond or a 500,000 Kenya shillings cash bail, 3 contact guarantors, weekly checkings with the police. Within hours, the family paid the cash. Seth Mwabe walked free. But outside the courtroom, a different trial was taking place. The court of public opinion. Hire him, don't jail him. The FBI would have given him a job. This is why the youth are discouraged. In Kisii County, Seth's village elders welcomed him like a returning hero. Prayers were held. Some called him a digital prophet, but to detectives, he was still suspect number 1 in an ongoing international investigation. Because behind Seth's calm smile lay a mountain of unanswered questions. Where was the money? Were there accomplices? And what exactly had been found in his servers? What do you do with a young man who builds a cyber lab in his apartment, slips through $1 million payment network, and then says he was just testing? What do you do when the villain might also be the warning? To some, Seth Mwabe is a criminal, a thief, a symbol of cybercrime in the digital age. To others, he's a genius failed by the very system he was trained to protect. He didn't scam the elderly. He didn't steal from people's phones. He exploited the system, the invisible plumbing behind Kenya's digital finance empire. Seth is not the only one. He may just be the first to get caught this publicly. This case is no longer just about the 11.4 million shillings. It's about Kenya's future. Our banks, our betting apps, our mobile money, all racing towards innovation. But is our security racing fast enough to keep up? As the nation invests in fintech and AI, the real question is, are we building digital castles on foundations of sand? Seth did not just use brute force. He used knowledge, curiosity, patience, and And when he found a crack in the system, he didn't report it. He slipped through it and found money on the other side. Some say it was greed, others say it was desperation. And still, others call it genius misapplied. Because here is the real danger. If we ignore what Seth Mwabe exposed, not just in our networks, but in our society, then the next heist will be bigger, faster, and maybe unstoppable. We focus on Seth's face, but the real story is in the mirror. A digital generation growing up faster than the laws meant to govern them.